Hello, and welcome to Power ED, a Chat State podcast. I'm your host, Andy Burns, and I'm thrilled to have you join us on this enlightened journey. Here at Chattanooga State Community College, we're not just about lectures and textbooks. We're about people. Our inspiring employees who are dedicated to empowering our students and our community. We'll explore our community members' unique paths, discover what drives their passion for education, and uncover the incredible impact they're making both inside and outside the classroom. So whether you're a current student, fellow colleague, alumni, or just curious about what makes Chat State so great, you've come to the right place. Get ready to be inspired, to learn, and to feel truly empowered. On today's episode, we have the ever popular Bill T. This is the professor of sociology from the Social Behavior Science Department. Dr. T, how you feeling?
Great. Glad to be here. Excited to talk about some education and our awesome students. Yeah.
Absolutely. How we kind of start this off a bit is just, I know I introduced you a bit, but if you can go into detail who you are and what you teach and how you got to Chat State.
Okay, who am I? I wish I knew the answer to that. It's a really hard question. I heard somewhere that the worst advice you could ever give someone is to just be themselves, because it involves asking them to go on an existential journey.
Well, be yourself.
But let's see. So that's a great question. I appreciate it. I grew up in Southwest Virginia. I'm not sure where to start the story, but grew up in Southwest Virginia. I've got family from all over the place. That maybe explains, some people ask me what my accent is, and I think it's some sort of mix of Southwest Virginia, Appalachian. My grandfather was from New Zealand. My grandmother was from Switzerland. Grandmother was a good old Southern girl. Granddad was a Yankee on the other side, and also spent some time surfing, which some people seem to catch in the accent there. So when I was younger, I spent a lot of time chasing waves around the world. What got me into teaching? I guess a couple of things. I was trying to join the Peace Corps after college because I wanted to delay going to law school, which was my ultimate plan. I was medically denied from the Peace Corps, so that didn't work out. Apparently, they want you to have some white blood cells before they send you to sub-Saharan Africa, which is where I was headed.
That would help.
But at the time, I was living in my parents' basement and coaching JV soccer at my old high school. And that was fine when I was headed to the Peace Corps. But once that door closed, I had to get out real quick. So ended up moving to Nashville, bought a guitar, and threw it in the back of the pickup truck and drove to Nashville. Ended up doing some construction work for a while, and man, that was an education that I never received in school. I learned a lot from the folks I was working construction with, and then ended up through a series of twists and turns doing some work with some churches down in Honduras, Central America. And I would say that's sort of the most direct route that I got to sociology. And so I don't know how long we have, but if you just give me a couple stories about Honduras, I mean, that's really what happened, because as I mentioned, I was on the track to law school, and I was going to do something serious with my life.
Yeah.
Either that or be a surf bum. Those are the two top.
Both are serious. So
the two top options at the time were, move to Nicaragua and live on the beach and surf, or go to law school and do all that.
Yeah.
But when I was in Honduras, was doing some work with some churches. I lived at an orphanage, and then I would work with some of these short-term mission groups, as well as some of the nonprofits that would come down and do projects. Development projects, aid projects, charity projects, stuff like that. And there was one community that we worked in outside of Tegucigalpa, Honduras, Mirador del Oriente. It was this little village on the side of the mountain above the city. Most people there are probably living off $1 or $2 a day. And over the course of several years of living down there full time and also going back on some of these trips, I got to know some of the people there pretty well, and my Spanish improved. But I remember vividly one day we got to Mirador, and one of the things we were doing was building houses. And there was a guy named Billy Noe, and Billy would always help us build houses, and we'd pay him to help us out. And Billy walked up, and he was looking for some daily work that we would pay him for with our group. We had a group of private school kids from Nashville down there building houses. And Billy had this big black eye, and his face was kind of jacked up. And so I was like, Billy, man, what happened? And I think I made some joke, bad joke about like, talking to his wife or something. But he didn't think it was that funny, and it wasn't. But anyway, I was like, what happened, Billy? And I could tell he didn't want to tell me. But I was like, dude, I mean, are you straight? What's going on? Like, your face is kind of messed up, buddy. What happened? And he was like, no, it's good. And I pushed him a little bit, and he finally was like, I tried to go north. I was like, oh, like, what do you mean, like, north? I tried to go north. And he was like, well, he's like, my kid's sick. And I was like, yeah, I remember hearing that. Like, church was trying to help you out a little bit, right? And he was like, yeah, for a while, and I really appreciate that. But it's long-term disease. He needs medicine every month. And he was like, look, man, I like making $1 or $2 a day at best when I can get work, and I can't afford it. And I was like, well, did you try the other church? And he was like, yeah, no, I did. And they helped me for a little bit too. But they told me, like, Billy, we can't keep paying. There's too many people, need too many things. And I was like, well, what about like the government? Is there any welfare programs or anything? He's like, man, this is Honduras. Like, what are you talking about? No. And I was like, well, what about jobs? Like, he's like, look, yeah, I'm working as much as I can. And he's like, I don't know what my options are, man. My kid's sick. Like, I don't know what to do. He was like, I got a cousin in Texas, and he makes money, and he sends money back, and he cares for his family. And he was like, so I tried to go north.
Yeah.
I was like, dang, what happened? He was like, well, I kind of like hitchhiked through Honduras. I got to the border, Guatemala. Like, I had to sneak across the border because he doesn't have like a passport or anything like that. And he kind of walked and hitchhiked and rode buses through Guatemala. Eventually got to the border of Mexico, snuck across the border in Mexico. And in Mexico, a lot of these immigrants ride trains.
Okay.
And riding these trains is a really dangerous thing.
Yeah.
For one, you're riding on top of a train, hanging off the side of the train. You can get clipped by trees, fall under the wheels, all kinds of dangerous stuff. But he was riding these trains north. And the other thing is he was carrying some money with him, because you have to carry money because you got to buy food, you got to pay people off. Yeah. Once you get to the border of Texas, you might need to hire a coyote or something like that. So he was carrying cash, and so was everybody else riding on the train. And so these trains are targets for the gangs. Yeah. And so I was like, oh yeah, I see where this is going. And he's like, yeah, so the gang pulled us, we were a bunch of us, 50, 100 of us, like on top of this train. We were several hundred miles into the country at this point, and they pulled us off. And I was like, oh man, so they robbed you? He was like, yeah, they took it all, man. And I was like, and then they beat you up, huh? Is that what happened to your face? He was like, nah, they didn't. He was like, they got my money. Like, I was good. They just let me go. They don't care what happens to me. They got my money. Yeah. And I was like, what happened to your face? And he was like, well, and I was like, well, what did you do? Like, you're in the middle of Mexico. You got no money. Yeah. You don't have any papers. Like, you're 2-3 countries away from your home country. What did you turn around? He was like, no, I kept going. I was like, what do you mean you kept going? Like, you got back on the train? No. I started walking. And so he walks for several weeks, probably covering, again, hundreds of miles on foot. And he's describing, I was like, how did you live? You didn't have any money. He was like, this is the kindness of strangers. Like, people saw me and they understood what I was doing, and people gave me food and fed me and sheltered me. And I realized, it was one of those moments where I just realized, because I was young, man. I was in my early 20s. And, we know everything in our early 20s, right? I had it all figured out.
And I'm about to test it in the world.
I mean, I had it all figured out in my early 20s. And it was this slap in the face where I was like, Bill, man, you got no clue what life is like for a lot of the world. You got no clue what this man is going through. Yeah. I need some tools. I got to understand if I'm going to come to Honduras, I want to like help these people.
Yeah.
I got to understand what I'm doing. I got to understand the world they live in. I got to understand their economic situation.
Yeah.
What choices are available to him. I got to understand the culture.
Yeah.
What are his values? I got to understand international law. I got to understand history, right? I got to understand all these moving pieces.
I never thought about that part.
To understand the world that he lives in and the choices that are available to him if I want to help him. I can't help him if I don't know what he needs or who he is. Because I thought I was down there, I was building houses, and I'm like, oh, I'm helping these people.
Yeah.
I feel, look how good I am. Like, oh, I'm down here doing the Lord's work. And we go back to Nashville and we go to church and we pat ourselves on the back. Like, oh, look how much we helped.
Yeah.
Is that what that guy needed?
Exactly.
I don't know. I think he needs something else than a house, like a shack, right? I mean, and then that was sort of the big one that shifted my path into sociology. Sociology had a lot of the answers that I was looking for because sociology is a discipline for our listeners out there.
Yeah.
It's a broad discipline that takes into account things like economics, things like politics and power, things like culture, and looks how all those things shape us and shape our world, and also how we can shape the world in return. And so sociology had a lot of those answers to help me think about how to do that kind of work.
Well, the cool part about it, and thank you for the stories, by the way, because it puts a lot of perspective. And now even listening to you and hearing what students had said about you and what they learned in the class, I get it, right? It's almost like you took life experiences and you tried to figure out a way to teach other people. So when you're teaching them the subject, you're teaching them tools that they should use, but it's the passion and it's coming out even in your stories. So how did you, once you decide that you're going to choose sociology, what school did you go to, and then how did you get there? And then how did you end up in Chattanooga?
Oh man. We can keep that pretty short. I think maybe I sent out a grand total of 1 grad school application. So I don't advise that, but it was the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. University of Tennessee, Knoxville. Yeah. Is where I did my PhD. There's a professor there, Dr. John Scheffner, who's a political economist who spent a lot of time in Latin America doing work in Nicaragua with social movements. And I was really interested in John Scheffner's work is my official answer. Okay. And cool. I am. And John Scheffner's an incredible academic and advisor and human being. But also, my now wife was at the University of Tennessee at the time. Congratulations. And so I'd be lying if I didn't say that I had a big role in my graduate school decision.
Absolutely.
So I had a great time at the University of Knoxville, Tennessee, and got my PhD there. My wife got a job in Chattanooga, and so I followed her to Chattanooga. Kind of just fell into the job here. And I'll be honest, I thought this was going to be a temporary gig.
Really?
My wife was pregnant and figured, oh my gosh, I better get a job. This is serious now. And so I took this job at Chattanooga State thinking it was going to be temporary. My idea was I was going to go do research and write books and stuff like that. And that's kind of the path my advisor wanted me to take. But man, I just fell in love with the students here. One of the best things about our institution here at Chattanooga State is we know what we're about, and that's teaching. I've sort of just kind of found that I think as terms of my impact, my contribution, I think teaching is the best way that I can do that. I think I touch a lot more people teaching than I do writing some sort of research journal article that's going to exist behind a paywall somewhere and be read by other PhD academics who already agree with me. So that and just the student body here, man. I mean, it's just a joy. I tell people if I won the lottery, I would keep coming and teaching classes because, man, the students here, they got a history. I mean, they come from places. They got a present. They're doing things. And just to be able to use that as kind of the soil for like classroom discussions, I can bring out their stories and their experiences, and they can teach each other and learn from each other and teach me at the same time. It keeps it interesting, and keeps my passion and my stoke high. It's just a joy, man. It's just a joy coming and getting to teach and learn like with our students here. And some of them, you know, at first they're like, they don't trust me. They're like, can I really do what I want?
Exactly.
Like, and so it really leads to some like really cool situations as well that I think, you know, are really helpful, you know, considering our social political climate at the moment. Because, you know, I'm like, hey, look, like you seriously, I want you to do what you want to do. Don't try to impress me or try to figure out what I want you to do. I want you to do what you want to do. And I actually have them evaluate themselves and the work that they did as part of that process. But so, you know, just for example, last semester I had, we don't have to get into the details of this, but I had one student that did a project. She wanted to exclude trans athletes from sports. And she did research on this, and she came up with a project topic and did research, and that was her project. And we had a trans student in the class who did a project on why trans people should be included in these spaces. And, you know, both students were actually really nervous. They're like, should I do this project? Like, what about the other student? Like, and I was like, hey, look, if we can't have these kinds of conversations like here in this classroom, in this really safe, controlled, like trusting environment that I've tried to build for y'all.
Absolutely.
What are the chances that we could ever have these conversations productively outside when it's like, it's heated and it's
in your neighborhood.
And it's in your neighborhood.
You live next door to a person, and you have to coexist. I 100% agree.
And so, you know, we get so we get some interesting and fun things, and trying to just like work through those processes of like, how do we disagree and still get along together? And like, you know, that's been really rewarding as well. But again, it involves like trusting my students. Like my students pick projects all the time that I'm like, not what I would pick, but
go for it.
But I told you to do it, so go ahead.
Well, listen, this has been a lovely conversation. I know we're going close to time. I want to thank you for joining us. I know for everyone who's listening, when you get a chance, go up to Dr. T and just ask him about his ungrading process and how. But this will wrap up another episode of Power ED. If you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast on your favorite platform. And don't forget to share with your friends, family, and anyone who wants to be empowered by this incredible work that's happening here at Chat State. Thank you for joining us, and remember to stay empowered. Power ED, unleashing the power of education, one Chat State story at a time.